we get so attached to movies and the cinema and DVDs and I used to go to the movie theater and that's all. I think that's all completely valid, but like that hasn't been a thing for more than 100 years. Like that ran its course, and it's sad, but it is dying. Something new is coming next. We get to have a say in what that new thing is.
Welcome back to another episode of the IndieFilm Insider podcast. And in today's episode, we talked with festival director Curtis Bell. No relation between him and I. The Butte Film Festival is a festival that operates in Northern California, specifically for student filmmakers. Our film, I Study People for a Living, had the privilege of being shown at the Butte Film Festival on December 7th. In this episode, we talked about what it takes to get your film into a film festival, and we even have an existential conversation about what filmmaking means as a whole. As always, if you like the content, make sure you like and subscribe. And without any further ado, let's hop into this episode with Curtis Bell.
Curtis Bell, long-lost brother of Jake Bell. Welcome to the show.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
It's true.
Yeah, we
Of
look.
course, that is an
almost
actual,
identical.
absolutely
mustache.
factual statement.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, don't fact check it. Anyway, Curtis, for anybody who doesn't know you, any of the work that you do within the film industry, can you give a brief introduction?
My name is Curtis Bell. I have been the director of Butte Film Festival for the last 3 years. We are Northern California's largest student-specific film festival. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work building community around film. A lot more work building community around film locally and regionally than I have actually, spent making films.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
you were also the founder, right?
Right, yeah.
Also, and then you founded it in 2022, right?
2023 was our first year.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So and
Yeah.
can you just also give let's have a little bragging session, because
Okay.
I know the first year you founded it was like a first year thing.
Mhm.
What were the numbers from the first year to the second year in terms of submissions?
Our first year we had 52 maybe submissions, but our first year was just from Butte County student filmmakers, high school and college level, which is like a lot if you're thinking just Butte County. And our second year we opened it up to the entire Northern California region, so basically within 3 or 4 hours driving distance of Chico, and we went up to 150 submissions our second year. And our third year, totally unprecedented. We matched our second year in submissions, but we did a lot less. We did exponentially less legwork in getting submissions our third year than our second year.
Yeah, because I remember there was a ton of, you guys did really, really well on the marketing for the second year specifically.
Yeah,
because I know, because that was the first time that Jake and I submitted to Butte Film Fest. We got rejected because our film sucked. But yeah. I don't think we ended up going to. Did you end up going to it, Jake, last year?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, yeah. Regardless, we.
I would not say that your film sucked. I could not personally make something that would get into Butte Film Festival, like for real, in any of the categories. And the thing about the drama category is, like, I swear, it's like we get a bunch of submissions, but almost half are just drama, and all the best ones that the people put the most into are almost always drama. So yeah.
Do you have any hypotheses? Do you have any hypotheses or ideas as to why the drama is the most popular and competitive category?
I think students like to approach drama because it is challenging and serious, and it has emotional weight. When people win best performance awards, it's almost always for drama. Best picture awards almost always go to drama. I mean, it's a broad term, drama, but I think it's what collectively we seem to take the most seriously when it comes to film. So I think a lot of student filmmakers want to take that on when they go into film.
And then you mentioned that you weren't so much like a filmmaker than you were like a director of the festival. So what was it like to kind of balance trying to be a filmmaker, running the festival, and also being a student, like all at the same time?
There was not much balance, I'll tell you that.
Mhm.
This year there was a good balance. This year we kind of looked at the festival and we were like, okay, what makes the festival good? And we cut out everything else and we really streamlined it and made it as efficient as possible. And that made it a lot easier. And everybody was a lot more used to doing what we're doing by now. So that made it a lot easier. And I could actually reasonably balance school and life and all that stuff. Last year there was no balance. Like I got 2 Ds in my classes because I was committing all my time to Butte Film Festival. um I didn't make any films last year. I pretty much sacrificed everything,
Mhm.
academically, personally, uh, creatively. I sacrificed everything for Butte Film Festival last year. So no, I mean, yeah, the balance was barely there. My teachers hated me. I turned in assignments late and incomplete, and didn't show up to class a lot of the time, and I suffered the consequences for that. Yeah,
Do you regret that?
not at all. No, yeah. I mean, when you have something, you know, every one of us has like a golden thread of purpose that we follow in life. And when you find something that is in alignment with that purpose, like that's the only thing that matters, in my opinion. So school is just, school is, I think it's a good structure and a good community and social stuff is cool, but it's mostly bullshit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I agree with that. I think that like when you have something that you're passionate about, it's better to pursue that. Because for me, like I didn't and for Owen as well. Like we didn't pursue like film school. We decided to kind of just jump into it and kind of force ourselves through that
Yes.
path. Not really knowing where to go, but we knew that we wanted to do it. So that was kind of the thing we did. And I mean, I for better, you could argue like maybe we would be better off if we had stuck the more like film school route or whatever. But I mean, I agree with that sentiment of you should just pursue what feels right, because I don't want to be depressed and do something that I would rather hate. Um,
Yeah.
what did you what makes a film worthy of being like, I guess, enter like what makes a film worthy of being played at a festival,
At a festival or at Butte? I
or
mean,
just
it's
in your
hard for me to
opinion?
like. I can only speak to Butte, and I mean, for us, it's really a matter of just like we have a team of screeners. We make sure every film gets seen by at least 2 different people, and they rate it based on a pretty, on a rubric that we predefined. And based on all that, it really, for our film festival, is just a matter of scoring highest on the rubric, um,
Mhm.
uh, in order to get in. Uh, but I think other festivals, I'm sure, do it a lot differently, especially when you get to like the insanely hyper competitive ones like Sundance, where there's like 10,000 entries. Like I know that's something totally different, like
Mhm.
you're looking for like lightning in a bottle or something like rare and miraculous and never seen before to get into those festivals. And ours is just really like, did our screeners feel strongly enough about it to rate it high enough for it to get in? And I will say, a part of our philosophy is uh, we value the emotional impact of the
Mm.
film more than the technical qualities. So, if there's a film that's kind of like doesn't have the best cinematography and maybe the audio isn't that great, but it tells a really compelling story, like we'd rather uh play that than a film that's like has great cinematography and sound and blah blah blah, but the story's like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm.
Then why'd you play our film? Because our film just looks pretty and that's it.
No, we liked your film. Your film told a very interesting and unique story. I did not see any eye roller tropes in your film. You know, there's, oh God, student film is full of just like so many tropes. You know, somebody always dies in a student film. Wait, sorry, did somebody die in your film? I forgot.
No,
Nobody
No.
died, right?
no.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no
Somebody
one
always
dies. Yeah.
dies in a student film, or you know, everything's always like whatever slash comedy, and yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. It was unique. It was original, and people really liked it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. No, I was just kidding. Our film is the best. No, I mean, I have a lot of like issues now. Like looking back at it, just watching it again, I was like, oof, like why did we do those decisions? But you know, it is cool, and I think a lot of people get value from seeing their film playing in front of others. Because when I watch it with other people, I feel like I'm putting myself in their shoes while I'm watching it. So I'm kind of seeing all the like little things, all the little flaws that I kind of ignored in the editing process.
Oh yeah.
So you know, I think it's super valuable. And I enjoyed Butte, and also like the setting this year was really cool. I don't know, I think he did like
Yeah.
a
Yes.
theater last time, right? Like he did like the
Yes.
Orville Theater.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're right.
because
That it
this year
was
was like
very,
the
very cool. Almost too cool.
yeah.
A little silly. A little
I liked the
almost.
setting of this one with all the lights and everything. I thought that was
You like
really cool.
it was cool. It was really cool. I really liked our venue this year. You know, aside from the heating issues.
Hmm.
um, yeah,
It
I
wasn't
liked
that
our
bad. It was
venue
fine, I
last.
think.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, yeah, a lot of people didn't have any issues with the heating. I was more in the same way you're like, you see people in the audience looking at your film and you're thinking critically about it. Like, that's how I am about the film festival. I'm like, oh, some people are sitting over here
Mm.
cold. Some people are sitting in the back and the audio is really terrible. But I'm sure most people uh, had a fine, pleasant, comfortable experience. Last year's venue to me was like unbeatable. But the main thing is just like our core audience outside of the student filmmakers who travel from elsewhere to come to it is based in Chico. And so we lost a
Mm.
significant amount of people who otherwise would have come when we moved it just 30 minutes down the road to Oroville. But, you know,
Hmm. That makes
yeah,
sense.
in
Yeah,
like
because I mean,
rural.
there was a lot of people. What were we saying?
Oh, I was just saying, like, y'all are in the city, right? So wait, are y'all in? Remind me where y'all are based. Are you in the Bay Area?
We're in Davis.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Um, yeah, so well, Davis is kind of like here, but I was gonna say like I lived in Orange County and I've lived in cities and like and when you're living in an
Mm.
urban area, like a 30-minute drive is like across town. But when you're in Chico, it's like people can't. It feels like such an amazingly long distance, but 30 minutes a drive. I don't know. I think people should have just
Yeah,
come anyway. But yeah,
throwing shade.
um,
Yeah, I mean, I thought
yeah.
I was fine with the drive. I mean, it's like an hour 40. What for us, Owen? It's like
Yeah, if that, it was like an hour and a half, maybe.
yeah, like I'm
It's
fine
like
with that.
the
I mean,
same
there
to
was
SF.
yeah, and there was a lot of people from like we were just around us, like Kyle Miller, who did For Old
Yeah.
Time's Sake, that was playing. I mean, he was also there. His entire thing. I think the actor is from Vacaville, but I mean they're all from Sacramento basically. And then there was
Yeah,
a few
yeah.
other people
Yeah.
there that I think the people who did Just Phil were also from Sacramento.
Oh, they were from
The
Humboldt,
ground.
actually.
Oh
Yeah.
really? Oh well, yeah. Well, I think the director,
Oh,
she
the
said
family was from.
she lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from there
Oh,
originally, and I think they
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
their
So
graduate film or something from Humboldt, but they moved back to Sacramento with their family afterward.
yeah. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I think that's probably if it was like maybe 2.5 hours, that might be a bit more of a drag. But like I think it's fine. Like and also like just going,
Yeah.
and I agree. Like I think we probably were maybe a bit biased about the heating issue because we were like kind of right next to a heater. I remember like I was actually like I had to take a jacket off. I was like, oh my god, it's so hot in here, and I saw other people like huddling together. And I'm like, oh okay, this is not.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a quality thing because I have the heating privilege. Were you getting
Yeah.
complaints
I
about
mean,
it?
and also it is like how often do one of your films get to play at a film festival,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Like, because for us, we don't get. I mean, we don't normally get into that many festivals, strictly speaking, just because we're not in LA and there aren't that many festivals like actually around us that we can go to. Jake, do you know how many festivals I study people got into? Was it like
Sacramento,
4?
and then Buff, and then 3. I think, and then
Bright
Modest. So I
Ideas?
think 4, 3 or 4.
Oh, Bright Ideas and Modest.
Yeah, Bright Ideas and Modest. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got into 4 festivals. I'm like, yeah, it's like 4 isn't nothing, but like those all did range from like July to December. And so it's like, yeah, if a film gets in a festival and you have the chance to show it to people and watch people watch your film, 2 hours is like nothing in order to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Especially like at the student level, where we're at, I feel like, you know, especially there's less opportunities to show your films. Did you guys apply to a
Yeah.
lot in like around the Bay Area? Was that kind of like your cutoff? You didn't go down and apply to a bunch in LA or SoCal?
I mean, I think because I think I did all the submissions, and I believe that I kind of did try to keep it to like like within like a 2 hour range or so. I think we
Yeah.
ultimately I submitted to maybe like 7 or 8 festivals, so we got about half, which is pretty decent odds. But yeah, I try to keep it local.
That's pretty
Yeah, because
good.
we've also talked about a lot about like submitting to festivals you can't go to, and just like laurel farming is kind of like useless. It's just like a little ego booster. You want to put another
Yeah,
laurel
right.
on the poster
I
or
mean,
whatever. It's
yeah,
like that's like, yeah, you're not gonna flex by getting into a bunch of local
it's not
festivals,
going to make
dude.
your
Like
film any
if
better, you know?
yeah, like
You,
the point of going to these is to like watch people watch it and also interact with people who are local to you and who you can collaborate and make stuff with in the future. And like if you're just doing it and you're not going to it, or you're doing like an online festival, it's like it basically removes the whole purpose of doing it in the first place.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I know, once you get to like the feature level, I know there's a whole different game to it. Like I know at that point, when you're trying to sell it, then festivals become a lot more serious. But when you're at the
Yeah.
short level or the student level, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we saw next year you're passing the torch, right?
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
just because
Yeah.
you're finishing up your college?
Well, I'm moving to New York City in
Oh.
in 2 weeks exactly from now, where I will be continuing my education. And uh, yeah, I was honestly ready to just let it kind of fizzle out because a lot of the core team had already left the area and was planning
Mm.
on leaving the area, including myself. That would have left, almost no one. And so I was ready,
Hmm.
for it to kind of fizzle out, uh, as many kind of local projects do when the founder and leaves. But I was approached by a friend of mine who's been, submitted every year and won something, I think, almost every year. And afterward, who heard that we were ready to let it kind of fizzle out, and he said he wanted to take it over. And I can't personally think of a better person more suited to take over the film festival than this guy. And so we'll be passing it to him. And well, yeah, passing it to him. And a lot of us are staying on remotely on the board of the
Hmm.
nonprofit and overseeing kind of big picture decisions. But in large part, we're passing like, the festival on to a new person to lead. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, obviously you like the guy, he's ready
Mhm.
to pass the torch, but how do you personally feel about having to kind of, I guess, give it up for lack of a better word?
I'm gonna be totally honest, relieved. uh,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've heard this multiple times. People who run film festivals have to be like they can be an odd bunch of people because it requires a lot of stamina and a lot of passion for usually not a huge amount of return. But at the same time, everybody in the community really appreciates what you do. But you're not like making a bunch of money off of it. And so in a way it was like I really love doing it and I have a lot of passion for it. But like, I don't even know, even if I wasn't leaving, if I would have another year in me
Mm.
of doing this. So I feel relieved that there's somebody, you know, new blood to take it on and put new ideas into it and new energy. If you'd asked me years ago, I would have been like nervous about like the long-term vision and stuff like that. But no, like now
Mm.
I'm like I'm just glad that something that I helped make gets to continue on even after I leave. Like that's like such a good feeling, you know? Yeah.
Mm. And then where in New York are you moving to? Like what part? What borough of NYC?
Um, right now it's looking like Queens, where I'll be going
Queens.
to Queens College. Are y'all familiar with the NYC boroughs?
My dad's side of the family is all from New York, so I'm pretty familiar
Oh.
with the NYC structure. Been there plenty of times. That's cool though. I mean, are you gonna pursue film still?
In some film will be somewhere in the mix for sure. But I have come to understand myself less as a filmmaker and more as a community leader and organizer. And I know that
Mm.
film and the arts will definitely be in the mix. But right now, what I'm looking to transfer into, because I'm still working on my bachelor's and I'm transferring from a community college into a 4 year. And right now, I'm looking into interdisciplinary studies, which essentially lets you create your own major based on your own specific goals. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, what I tell people, might sound kind of vague, but I know film will be I can intuitively discern that film will be in the mix, but I can't say that I'm going on to continue pursuing film, and you know, I'm not trying to become a filmmaker or a director or something like that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's honestly kind of where I'm at too. And like I know Jake and I have talked about this and we know about it. I don't think I've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but like I actually did go back to community college, kind of trying to pursue a 4 year for myself in business and accounting, which is
Mhm.
like whenever I tell people I did that, people are like, "What the fuck? You've been making like videos and films for the last 4 years, and now you're going back to college for accounting?" I'm like, yeah, because like, and Jake and I will have probably a whole other podcast on this, but like, I'm not entirely certain about the state of the industry right now, especially looking forward to the next like 4, 5, 6 years. And I don't know. We could talk about it right now. We could talk about it later. But like,
Mhm.
I'm not even gonna mention the censored word, the thing that will not be named in regards to film. Um, but like, yeah, I think that's where I'm at too. Where it's like I don't. He has the
You know,
stickers. He has them.
you know what
Um,
these are?
is it like
These are
no?
little.
What is
These are
that?
little. So I got sick of seeing AI generated, mainly flyers, but just AI art in general. Seeing it was really
uh,
frustrating. So I actually printed a bunch of these, probably way too many of these, and I've just been giving them to every artist I know. And they're just little stickers. If you see something AI generated, you just peel one off, you know, and stick it on it.
That's
And
really funny.
that way you offer a tiny little bit of public humiliation to anybody who thought it would be a good idea to just generate their flyer with ChatGPT. Um,
dude,
but yeah,
Good.
yeah, you should sell those.
You should.
you can tell 'em, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't even like for my thing. I don't even know if AI has a ton to do with. I'm going to be a little dramatic and call it the death of middle class filmmaking. Um, because like nowadays, like if you want to make actual movies, you're kind of cooked. Like you have to either be a nepo baby or get really really lucky with some ascension up the like A24 or Neon Ladder.
Mhm.
And I don't know what that's going to look like in 5 years. And like AI probably has a little bit of something to do with that, but I don't know how much of that it is compared to
Well,
just the
can I
effects
ask
of
a question about
capitalism on
that?
art as a whole. Yeah, yeah.
So, um, my question is, when was, you know, middle class filmmaking alive to begin with? Like, because the vast majority of film's history, it has been people who had a lot of money and resources who could afford film, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess middle class filmmaking, yeah, I guess by that definition, like, when was there a time when the people who could go out and make a feature film without being extremely resourceful or lucky or whatever? I don't know. Is that dying, or I can't think of. And then, yeah, that's my question. Yeah.
Yeah, so the best explanation I have for it is just the middle budget movie as a whole.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not necessarily talking about directors. I'm talking about like people being able to make a living gaffing feature films for like 10, 20 years.
Mm,
Um People who don't necessarily want to be at the top creative wise, but there were always below the line jobs for you in the feature film
mhm,
industry. So
mhm,
mainly in the I don't know about late 90s, but like mid 2000s, when there were all these like 10, $15 million movies getting made kind of back to back to back to back that
mhm.
didn't like it was cheap enough where you didn't have to be a huge box office hit in order to turn up profits. And then oftentimes those became like the kind of cult movies that everyone's really, really
Yeah.
nostalgic for. Um,
Mhm,
but nowadays, like obviously there are, and there are people who can articulate this way better than me, but there are, uh, kind of smaller films like Enora, for example, is the one that immediately pops into my head as a $6 million Best Picture winner.
mhm,
That's definitely the exception, not the rule. Nowadays, you either see A24 or Neon releases,
mhm,
or Warner Bros. Universal releases, and
mhm.
it's either in this $1 to $10 million budget range or this nine-figure budget range, and there's basically no eight-figure films being made anymore that people can kind of who have good below the line experience can kind of jump between and basically contribute to a lot of these different films.
Interesting. Yeah. I can't say that's a field that I know a significant amount about. I would just say, broadly speaking, outside of just film, I think there's a whole global transformation that we've been going through since the internet, uh, that is akin to the Industrial Revolution in scale, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think as artists or filmmakers, I think, I think there are a lot of compelling reasons to look at that, uh, and to feel very threatened by it, and to feel like, things are getting harder and it's becoming more difficult to be successful, etc. Which, I think in a lot of ways it's true. But the way that I try to look at it is that everything is changing right now. you know People can say for the better, people can say for the worse, but everything is changing, in big ways. And within every huge global transformation, you know there are enormous, uh, new opportunities and new ways of doing things, uh, and we have an opportunity to, stay flexible and adaptable and think creatively. And in the midst of this scary, massive, global change, I think we have the opportunity to come in and define what that's going to be. You know, uh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also part of it is just being able to adapt, right? Like the biggest thing that people cite is the transition from film to digital, and specifically the role of the loader being completely wiped out. But people who were loader, if anyone doesn't know what loader is, it's the person who literally loads the film into the film camera. Nowadays, you're known as a DIT, or a digital imaging technician, where it's
Mhm.
like essentially the same role with managing data, but you just had to learn a completely new skill set in order to stay within the industry. And like
Yeah.
some of that probably will kind of be the same thing, where just if you kind of pivot to a different thing that is, I'm not going to say more useful, but like more applicable to the current landscape, then you'll definitely be able to benefit from that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I think that's true. I think like you said, you know, being adaptable, I think is the most valuable skill in times like these, and not clinging too tightly to like any one way of doing things. Yeah, the I think that will equip people in like us, for success in the future.
So what is, I mean, I guess what do you guys think is the big change that's happening right now? Is it the push for streaming? Is it these multi-billion dollar merger deals that are happening? Is it artificial intelligence? Like what actually is changing about the industry, and like why are we seeing kind of like the death? Because I do agree that I think that with what Curtis said about the filmmaking has kind of always been sort of an upper class for the elites sort of thing, until we see something like digital being made, where the cameras get cheaper and more affordable. $2,000, or actually even less than that, like you can get a camera for a few $100s, probably, like you can, but back then a few $100s would only afford you like, a little, yeah, on your phone. Everyone
Yeah,
carries a phone.
phone.
And I think that is it going to be as, high quality as, the films from, that have always been made? Like probably not, but like you can still get a story across. And so I do think that we are seeing, like, right now more than ever, it's more accessible to the masses. But at the same time, it's still kind of being, that's kind of being dragged away, I feel like, with all that's going on right now. And I do think that it's concerning to see. I just think that I'm concerned about the future of, I guess, filmmaking, because I do think that it's getting a bit more gatekeepy. They're trying to figure out ways to lock the doors again, to make sure that, it's hard to break in for everyone else. But at the same time, it still is maybe easier now, because you can kind of just like, put it on YouTube, and then, if it's a good film and it gets good engagement, then boom, now you're like, someone's watching your movie and wants to help you make a feature adaptation or whatever, which is, very rare that happens, but it can happen. So yeah, I guess that would be my question to either of you. Like, what do you think is driving this change, and where is it going?
I have an answer unless Curtis, you want to go first.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
So I think it is primarily the push to streaming, in the sense where you have significantly less options to monetize the art that you create. Like DVDs are no longer a thing. Prime Video is, you have unlimited blockbuster options with your free Prime subscription. Why the hell would you pay $10 to watch a $100,000 budget indie feature? Um, basically the only way you can, there are exceptions. I'm speaking broadly. The only way you can get a film off the ground is by having a production company to help you finance it. Um, which is, and then the production companies that do exist now, they are a lot bigger and a lot more established and less willing to take risks on smaller features like they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Um, I think now the actual answer to being able to make films, maybe not even for a living, but just like be able to make multiple films, is knowing how to, basically having an expanded skill set. So being able to market online more effectively. Like YouTube is the biggest tool that a lot of filmmakers have access to, and a lot of them don't, I either like think that it's only a YouTube thing and it doesn't have applications for them, which is wrong. You've seen over and over people who maybe start YouTube channels, growing an audience, talking about film, reviewing film, making like how to film videos, gain this audience, and then they help support them in making a feature film that then gets into a lot of film festivals. You have, of course, people who know how to market short films, like Luca Pistolero, for example. Obviously, we've had him on the show before. He made a short film with a budget of 10-ish grand, 15 grand. Obviously, not nothing, but a far cry from traditionally what you would need to make a high quality film like that. He was able to market it effectively, and as a result got a lot of attention from people, and now he's working on a feature film with a well-known actor because he was able to get a lot of interest from the short films online. So it's not necessarily that it's dead, it's more so just that the landscape is changing and you have to know how to adapt to it and kind of I guess get rid of your preconceived notions that YouTube is only for YouTubers and you don't have to do everything regarding your films.
Mhm. Jake, I think your mic might be coming through your headphones. Just putting that out there. Because when you itch,
Like
it's
there's an
like you
echo.
can no, like when you itch, like it's like really
That's
picking
like
up on
some
the mic. Like, I think it
scratching.
might have switched to your headphones.
Like that.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, I'll be careful about that. I'm
No, no,
I'm
it's
recording the audio through here though for the podcast, so it'll sound
gotcha,
fine,
okay.
but it'll ruin your guys' life by some ASMR.
No, no, no. I was enjoying it.
That was the purpose.
But yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that, but that's kind of where I am at in terms of like thinking about the state of the industry as it is right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's impossible to predict the future, but I think in general, humanity as a whole is changing very rapidly. Uh, all of our systems and structures are becoming exponentially more complex. You know, there are a lot more people in general than there have been before. Uh,
Hmm.
Technology, the internet, globalism, uh, so much more money is flowing around than there ever has been before. Like, I was thinking about this the other day, like everything around us right now that make up, you know, just take what we're doing right now, this podcast, you know, there weren't podcasts 100 years ago. The mics you're using, I mean, microphones were 100 years ago an extreme, they were, I don't even, were there microphones? Was that, I don't know when mics, I don't even know if that's when the silent films, we didn't have
Like
microphones, we didn't have computers, we didn't
like the
have the
mid
internet,
30s
we didn't have,
probably, yeah.
like, every single thing about us that we call life has been made up in large part, you know, like made in the last 100 years. Eh, you know, and humans have been around for tens of thousands of years. Like the road that I drive on, cars, communication, transportation. I mean, everything is changing. You know, and that curve has gone like throughout human history. And now it's like that's what it feels like. Um, yeah. So it's scary, but yeah, I'm kind of losing track of the question now.
No.
Uh,
You make a good point.
we get so attached to movies and the cinema and DVDs and you know, I used to go to the movie theater and that's all. I think that's all completely valid, but like that hasn't been a thing for more than 100 years. You know, like that ran its course, and it's sad, but it is dying. Uh, and something new is coming next, and we get to have a say in what that new thing is. I'm not an industry expert. I know very little about the film industry, and I would have to guess that it has something to do with big corporations and monopolies and greed and all that stuff. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought as I'm speaking, but
No,
yeah.
dude, you're making a good point. I mean, I agree with that.
There's a Steve Jobs quote that I kind of almost just already quoted word for word that I live by. Everything around you that you call life was made up by people who are no smarter than you are. And you can influence it. You can change it. You can make your systems. You have the power to decide what the future is. And we can decide collectively on a better future. And the whole collective of
Mm.
humanity, that's what we want. That's what everybody wants. And I don't know, we're young people. How old are you guys? I'm just curious. I'm 24. How old are y'all?
Yeah, 23.
I'm 21.
Mm-hmm. 21. Like we're the ones who get to decide what the future is. And there's a lot of reasons to not like what's going on right now. Um, but just because that's how things are now doesn't mean that's how they have to stay or how they're doomed to be. And you know, oligarchs fall, systems crumble, uh, time moves forward, and we get to be a part of creating the future that we want as filmmakers.
No, I agree with all of that. I think about that stuff all the time. How pretty much every interest everyone has right now is an invention of the last like just couple decades, really. But yeah, especially like the last 100 years. Unless your interests, like even if your interests are like fishing or hunting, things that seem so like essential to the human it's like experience, like that's not, you're using a fishing rod that was made within like the technology for that is brand new, like the way that, unless you're like using literally a stick with like a little like twine attached to it and like a little like hook that you like somehow made, like that's all brand new. The metal that's like on the hook too, like all that precision, crafting of the metal. And then like hunting, you're using weapons, you're using guns, you're using scopes and stuff that are very hard to make but are made with like a holographic scope, for example. Like you're using stuff that is very brand new. And I think about that stuff all the time, and I think that it will, like, there will be probably a time where I mean, film is not a new thing. It's not, it's an art form, but art forms change. And there will probably be a time where film is no longer an art form. There probably will be something new. There are many forms of art that are long gone, that we are not talking about right now because it was forgotten by humans. And it's a bleak view. I don't know if that's going to be in our lifetime necessarily. Probably not, but it could. I mean, yeah, a lot of stuff that was in someone who was born in 1920 and died in 2020. There was a lot of stuff that they would have never thought of that would occur in their lifetime. Like the invention of
Yeah.
the iPhone, is a remarkable piece of technology. Not to glaze too much, but like it is a very just very hard to predict thing. And so yeah, I think about that stuff all the time. And I'm not trying to say that it's a good, because I've heard some people try to use it as an argument for why, like, oh well, yeah, if you think that, then AI is actually fine because it's just an evolution of where we're going. And I don't think it has to be. I think what you're saying is good. Like you have a call to action that we can change where things are going. I'm sure generative AI is going to stay around, and I'm sure like it's going to make its mark, whether it's disastrous or less disastrous. I don't think it's going to ever be a wonderful outcome for us as people. Maybe it is. Maybe I haven't taken the Kool-Aid yet, but I think that, yeah, I think it's terrifying, but yeah, it's sort of comforting to also realize that, I mean, I'm talking to you on a fucking like laptop that all the things I'm interested in are brand new. Like fucking gaming is new. Like talking, even the language we're speaking in, like go back 100 years, like you could say it's still English. Like, okay, well tell me like what a fucking like what like a flopper is. Like there's like a slang word, that meant like blah blah blah. Like there's words that we don't use anymore, and there's things that we tell someone from Victorian times what 6-7 means, and they're not gonna fucking know what you're talking about. So I mean, I'll stop my rant, but yeah, I fully agree with that, and I think about that stuff all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's last couple of questions for Kurt before we end up here. Let's get off the existentialism for a minute, making me a little depressed.
Well,
Kurt,
quick,
never mind. Back to the
wait,
existentialism.
I just want to plug Buddhism real quick. I'm a Buddhist, Zen Buddhist.
Hell yeah.
I meditate every morning and every night. And Buddhism's whole thing is, what are we existentially despairing about right now? The inevitability of change. What have humans always been despairing about? The inevitability of change. You're going to die. Everyone you love is going to die. The world is going to be a completely different place when you leave it than it was when you entered it. And you can either get really attached to yourself and the people you love and the things and blah, 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 or you can let them go, and stop holding to the way you want things to be so tightly and just accept the way that they are and the fact that they're in constant change. And I think the more you can do that, the more you can be at peace with it all, and the more you get to have an active role. Because we can't predict the future, but we can help decide the future. And to me, that's better because that's puts me as an active participant in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms of student film festivals,
hell yeah.
Are there any things that you look for from films that you watch? Kind of like if there's stuff that filmmakers, like if filmmakers are watching this, what do they need to take away from you as a festival director in terms of doing this or not doing this will help my films get selected?
Sorry, I don't remember the runtime. I don't mean any of this. I don't want to come at your guys' film. I don't remember the runtime, but I have a huge personal beef with anything longer than 10 minutes. In
14,
my opinion,
baby.
What was it?
14.
14.
That's fine. But oh my God, we literally we start docking points every minute you go over 10 minutes. Mainly because we want to show as many films as we can. And unless your film is like the most spectacular thing ever, like we don't want you to take up the films that two or three other films could play. So my biggest thing is, you're trying to tell a story. Tell that story as efficiently as you possibly can. If it can be told in 5 minutes, it does not need to be a 20-minute film. You're telling a story, tell it efficiently. That would be my advice. Don't make a long film. Nobody wants that. Make a 10-minute film, make a 5-minute film. And simplify your shit. Focus on one or two characters, one or two locations. I feel like a lot of student films, it's like, oh, they start here, they wake up in bed and the alarm clock goes off, and then cut, and they're in somewhere else, and then this happens, and then cut, and then this, and they're having all these interactions with all these different people, and all these, and it's like, one thing that's so great about the original film is you had such a limited amount of time to work with, and so you had to think very creatively about how to tell your story as efficiently as possible. And these days, it's like, just shoot whatever, shoot wherever, shoot as many people as you want. Make your films sweet, short, and to the point. The other piece of advice is like, you're telling a story. That's what you're doing. Camera work, audio, all this shit is important, but you're telling a story. That is the important thing. If your writing is lacking, your film is a waste of time. So, in my opinion, you have to have good writing and halfway decent audio, and that's all you need for a good film. You can have okay actors, as a director. Good directors can make a lot with bad actors, in my opinion. So you can get away with okay actors. You can get away with a shitty, fucking low quality film. All you need is decent audio and a good script. So my thing is like, whether or not you're a writer. If you're a writer and you really want to be a writer and that's what you're about, like, hone that craft, get good at your writing, put it in your film. If you're not, be honest with yourself and collaborate, find somebody who is passionate about writing and good at writing and storytelling and character driven, and get them to write your script. I was just talking to somebody the other day about how great I think it would be, on a local level. The theater people are really good at thinking about characters and writing, and they can like whip out a fucking 90-minute play in like a week. Like the writers, they do that. That's what they do. And locally, I think the writing has always been where we lack. And so I highly encourage people to collaborate. Like find a theater major and get them to help you write your script. Um, yeah, yeah. And watch a lot of other student films, and oh my God, avoid cliche like it's a death trap. Not every film, nobody, you don't have to have somebody die in every film, you know? There doesn't have to be a killer for it to be interesting. Uh, your film can stand on its own legs and not rely on jokes every 2 minutes, like, yeah, that's my my bullet points for what that's what I look for in a film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a quick thing to add to the first one with a time limit. I
Yep.
100% agree with it, but I feel like it is something that you have to learn by yourself.
Mhm.
As much as we can tell you, hey, shorten this shit down, there are a lot of people who are like, no, I can make an amazing 20-minute short film, and it never works. We've tried it, it never works. No matter how good you think it can be, it's always like this evolution of you make a good actual I'm going to call them actual short films, like 8ish minutes long, and this is something we talked about a lot, trying to make a feature that is a short length. You make an 8-minute film, it's great, you're like, okay, we're gonna up the ambition, we're gonna make more characters, more locations. It's terrible. We have done this cycle a lot to get to the point, and like even like the most recent one, that was part of our cycle where we were like, okay, we did this small one character, basically one location short. We were happy with the results. We get overly ambitious or we get bored with the smaller concepts. We make this 14-minute one. And this one, it wasn't as disastrous as the previous ones we've attempted, but the previous ones were bad.
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
but like I also just feel like that is something you have to learn for yourself as much as telling people, hey, shorten your shit down is helpful. Just between your failed experiences and getting better as an editor, it is something that people will learn eventually, I think.
Yeah, I mean that is something that we learned for this one, because our I study people was about 20 minutes for the first cut. So the reason why we cut it down from that is because we knew that like we can't have this. No one's gonna. And you're right. No one really wants to see your 20-minute film unless it is immaculate, which it very rarely is. And our film certainly wasn't. And so we wanted to cut it down, and so we got it down, 6 minutes, which is a substantial time for 6 minutes is a short film. So we basically took a short film, extracted it out of our current short film, and I hope it made it better. There was a lot of lines we cut, a lot of things we cut that felt important, and I think it's hard for people to see like what to cut when they're cutting their own film, but you kind of just have to. And I agree with Ellen that you kind of have to you have to fail to learn that, because you're not gonna have the courage, I think, to actually go through those edits and make those hard decisions. So I fully agree with the time thing, and we've talked about that before with we had another festival director on several months ago who said basically the same thing, that make those scripts, make them tight, make them short, and make them just very accurate to what you want to say. So I agree.
Yeah, I'll say like another element is like be honest. Tell the truth about exactly who you are. You're telling a story. Tell me who you are. Be 100% unflinchingly honest. Two of my personal favorite films I've seen in the past few years were made. This is just coincidental. They happened to be made by two different girls in high school. Uh, One of them was a friend of mine, and she basically did like a spoken word poetry about eyes and eye contact and people and relationships. And it was just her talking while it was showing a bunch of eyes and people. And it was like 3 minutes. And I fucking loved it. And that would have absolutely gotten into the film festival. And the other one was a friend of mine who was a dancer. I'll just name these people. That one, her name is Lucy Rappaport. I don't even think she's going into film, but she's a poet and she's amazing. The other one was made by somebody who was in Butte Film Club, Evelyn Ledford. It was, and it got into a film festival where they paid to fly her out to Texas. And it was literally, both of these were shot on iPhones. And this one was just like a spoken word thing where she talked about like body image and cultural norms and expectations around femininity and beauty when it has to do with, being a dancer. And both of them were fucking short, sweet, beautiful, shot on an iPhone, not by experts. And they were some of the most moving films I've seen, in the past few years. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is also just like people, especially, and Jake and I are 100% guilty of this. We think we know more than we do, and we try to be more profound than we actually can come across. There are so many like micro details that we have put in our previous films, that are meant to be super symbolic and amazing, and these are great little Easter eggs, but nobody watches past the first few minutes of that film because it's terrible. And it's just like we're sweating way too much about the little stuff, and we're not concerned as much with the big stuff that will really, really actually make the film.
Yeah.
What film are you talking about? What are you roasting right now?
Old wounds.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
What do you
Okay.
what do you think? What do you think I'm roasting?
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
That's
I
fair.
thought you were thinking of me.
Yeah.
I wasn't roasting anyone.
Yeah, you've been roasting our films constantly.
There was one film in particular that I'm not going to name names at all, in the festival that I know personally from talking to the judges, everyone said the same thing. It would have done a lot better if it was half as long as it was. A big reason why it didn't get a lot was it was not only was it way too long, it was very, very abundantly clear that there was no reason why it needed to be that long. And as a result, I think that's why it didn't perform as well as it could have. I'm not going
Definitely
to name
ours.
names or give hints about, what film it was, but yeah,
Interesting. But it still got in.
it got in. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was still, yeah. But it just would have done way better awards wise if they had cleared that up.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say. I just got feedback. Not every single judge, but there were 4 judges this year, and 2 of them said the same thing. Like, I really liked that one, but it was just too long, and something like that. Think about the psychology of the person watching. Think about the psychology of the judge. It's everything in life is like this. It's less about how good your film is, how quality it is, whatever. Then is it likable? And your judge is watching it, and they may like it so much, but if it rubs them wrong in one way, you lose them. And if for this film in particular, it was very likable as a film, and I'm I'm not trying to hint at anything about what, but it was very likable as a film, but it lost them because it was too long. Yeah. So think about that. Like, think about your film. Think about the people watching your film, and think about how likable it is, and keep in mind how short even the most disciplined of us, how short our attention span is. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, a lot of it is like people do think they're. It's not that they're not making films for themselves, but like you're not really making your film for yourself. You can, but if you have any intention to show it to an audience, respect the audience's perspective. And like people, yeah, like we hear so often like, yeah, I'm making this for myself, this is my whole thing, but like you're not the only one watching it. Like just take that into account when you're working on it.
Yeah, and I think as filmmakers, we can be really happy with our work and our acting and everything, how it all turned out, but it's still like to the general person, it's probably going to be boring, because they're not attached to the
Yeah,
script or the acting or how good of a job you did. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that, and those are good points. I guess just wrapping up here, I want to ask one question. How do you think that running the Butte Film Festival has, I guess you said you weren't going to pursue filmmaking, and I mean, maybe not directly, but how do you think it's made you, do you think it's made you a better filmmaker or better at like managing stuff, or in your own personal life, have you noticed that you are more maybe patient or more just, I guess, like what are some changes that you've noticed after you started doing the Butte Film Festival that you'll take with you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very clear that my purpose on life is to be a leader, and ultimately running the film festival for the past 3 years has made me, an exponentially better leader than I ever would have been before.
Hmm.
And, there were very key lessons that I learned at every festival that I'm, going to take going forward. The first year was like, don't bite off more than you can chew. Oh my God, some film professional. Okay, I don't want to name names. I hope this person doesn't watch this. But somebody told me as film advice, they were like, bite off more than you can chew and then chew like hell. And I'm like, that's a good way to get burned out. Is that what you're trying to do? Like don't bite off more than you can chew. And especially if you have a team of volunteers helping you and they're volunteering their time and you're not paying for them, absolutely never overwork or stress these people. And our first year we bit off, but it was driven by me wanting way more than we could chew in way short of a time. And it stressed and overworked people, and that was a big mistake. And the second year, we bit off a ton, but it wasn't more than we could chew. Uh, um, and I learned a tremendous amount the second year about the importance in leadership of appreciating and uplifting everyone on your team, and absolutely under no circumstances stressing or pushing or overworking people, especially at the volunteer level. um and obviously a lot of like more kind of like straightforward skills like sales and marketing and starting a nonprofit and finding a board of directors and fundraising and all that stuff is great too. But like generally the character traits of being a leader, I have seen leagues of development in myself every year. And this year was really a lesson in like just chilling out, like, and a lesson in humility and chilling out and having a lot more trust in the people who are working with you and letting go, like, I'm sure you guys relate to having a very specific vision and wanting things to go exactly the way you want them to go, and every detail matters. But like, I'm sorry, every detail doesn't matter. Like, what does matter? Not everything. Find what does matter, and you can stress about that. But everything else, like, just chill out. Like you're running a film festival. People are there to watch films. Like, you don't need to have the best graphic design, and you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on marketing, and you don't, like, yeah. So I've learned a ton of lessons about leadership, and the most important ones being around humility, appreciation for the people helping you execute your vision, and then just letting go, like letting go of the need for controlling things to be the way you want them to be. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great, and that also sounds like a perfect place to end the show on. So with that, Curtis, where can they find you? Where can they find the Butte Film Festival? Anything else that you're working on?
You can find Butte Film Fest on Instagram at Butte Film Fest, or buttefilmfest.com, or just Google anything related to Butte or film or Chico or NorCal film. Like, our SEO is top notch. And me, I'm blotter.kurt on Instagram. You can find me there. Not a lot of film. If you're a big film buff, I don't do a lot of film stuff on my personal, but that's my personal page. And you can find me personally in Queens, New York next year. Just look around.
Yeah, we'll post his address down in the description for
Yeah.
anybody who is interested in checking him out. With that, I'm at onkar.dp on Instagram if you want to follow me. Jake, where are you?
I'm at Jake Ross Bell on Instagram.
Awesome. And if you want to check out the previous episode we did with, was it Nate?
It was Nate. Yeah, Nate.
It was Nate Rodriguez. That's been on the screen for the past few seconds or so. Check that out if you want to learn how to make music videos. And that's about it with our conversation for Curtis Bell. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Do you have anything else?
I guess I just wanted to ask a question.
Oh, sure. Jake put this before.
Where does your family come from? Where is your Bell name? Are you English? Are you Scottish? Where are we from? Where's the family?
Okay. This is a cool story. So, the origin of my name is actually Italian, but when they came, so it was in the when they came over from Italy, their name was Belladino, and they wanted to get work here, and they didn't speak any English, and so when they were at Ellis Island in New York, they changed their name they just cut off the rest of it and they put Bell so that it was like Giovanni Bell was the first Bell, which is like very obvious to me that that's a Italian person, but they wanted it on paper to sound more English. So it's Italian trying to mimic English.
I'm gonna call you Jacob Belladino now.
I wish mine had a cooler form, but I was looking into it because I was thinking about how we have the same last name, and it's obviously very unlikely that we're related because of that. But I was looking into it, and I talked to my dad, and his side comes from Wales, but then I was looking into it more, and the name Bell comes from more English, Scottish, and so we might have immigrated to Wales. But the fact that yours is coming from Italy is pretty, straightforward. Not even really close to being related.
Yeah.
Jacob Belladino.
I know. I thought about actually going back and like using my stage name as Belladino because I thought Jake Bell sounds too dumb, but I elected to go for Jake Ross Bell, just my middle name, because I think that's, SEO, want to sound searchability.
I don't know. Honestly, Jake Belladino sounds hard, dude.
It's too Tarantino-esque though.
Jacob Belladino? Maybe that's that kind of Jacob Belladino kind of sounds like one long. I've been thinking about going by Reed Robbins because it's my middle name and my mom's maiden name. And like Reed Robbins just sounds like a name,
The double R.
Yeah.
All right. I have to start packing. Or at least actually finish packing. So that'll be amazing. But Curtis, yeah, it was great talking with you, man. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And it was a great conversation.